What you saying, people? TWP back here to bring you guys another video today. So in the last video I talked about swing trading, but it was more for beginners, a little bit of an insight into what I look for. But today we're going to go more in depth. I'll show you my indicators, what I use, how I set it up, what kind of things I look for when identifying a swing trade, how I get into a trade. We'll talk about a few of the plays I've took in the last few weeks. For those of you who are with me in the Discord, you kind of know what I look for already, but this will give you a little bit more of an insight. And of course, as I said yesterday, it doesn't mean after you watch this video, you're going to know exactly what to do, what to take, when to get in a play, all that kind of stuff. No, but with a bit of practice, a few reps here and there, you'll probably start to identify more swing trade setups. You understand what I see, what I look for, how I enter, how I exit, that kind of stuff. And I thought I'd just, start by being on camera as well. So, it's not AI generated. The video yesterday was just voice, but people want to see, who's behind the camera and that kind of stuff. So that's how I thought I'd start off today's video. But it's pretty good because, this market is a great opportunity. This whole year is a great opportunity. 1 second. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand the actual opportunity at our fingertips. So this is a great time to get into stock market trading if you've not been in doing this before. And I do want to highlight, just to clarify, what I do and talk about in this video is not financial advice. And secondly, this is not what I use for my long-term investing strategy. That involves a lot more financials, balance sheets, income statements, reading, 10Qs, 10Ks, that kind of stuff. Also, make sure you understand that what I use in this video, again, is for trading purposes only. I don't use it for long-term investing because for that, I look at different factors and identify different things. But yeah, I think it's time we just get into it, So I will start off by going on, well, I'll just show you what I use. Yahoo Finance and, of course, TradingView. This is just Yahoo Finance, which I just scroll on pretty much daily, to be honest, even on the weekends. I've got my portfolio watch list as well, just to see some stocks I'm watching. I think it's always important that you have some stocks that you are watching, just so you know what kind of stocks are moving, how, and what they're doing, where, all that kind of stuff. Then, of course, we've got this open, a lot of notifications, and of course, as well, TradingView, like I said. So, swing trading. To be honest, I prefer swing trading, but this strategy can also be used for day trading on a much lower time frame. So I'll get into what I mean with all that kind of stuff in a second. But I'd say again, make sure you focus on identifying great setups. Now, this is a strategy I use for calls to the upside and also puts to the downside. As you guys probably seen, and if you haven't, then I can just recap, in the last few weeks I've hit XYZ for 950%. Actually, there was a girl who actually held this until it went to I think 1800 or 1900%. So she was able to flip like 37 into like 800, which was insane. We hit 639% on CRWV, 450% on ACHR, 260% on Google a couple of days ago, 844% on CRWV again, 370% on IWM intraday, Robinhood for about 440%, Nvidia 150%, APLD 160%, PLTR about 540%, and up, here are some of the screenshots just so you know, because the numbers sound crazy, but here's evidence, proof of the trades I took and called out to the Discord just so you know that we're actually taking these setups. Obviously, when you see these returns and stuff like that on social media and stuff, you wonder, oh, is it real? Is it this and that? As I've shown you here, there's a lot of screenshots, a lot of proof, little clips of people taking those trades and myself as well. But like I said, this year, 2025, this might be your best opportunity to learn trading and actually make money since maybe about 2020, which is literally half a decade. It's a long time in our lives, right? So with swing trading, I have XYZ here, but to be honest, the more simple your trading strategy is, the easiest possible setups will come to you. So when I say the more simple your trading strategy is, I'm saying if you want to execute in real time, do the simple things. I've got my moving averages here, the 9, the 21, and the 200. I've got a white line there, which is a line of resistance, which was previously support, right? So let's just, start from the very beginning, right? we're going to go with Apple stock. So the way to really handle this for swing trades, start with the weekly chart, right? Draw solid levels of support and resistance. Support is where a stock seems to bounce at, and resistance is a line and level where stocks seem to get rejected at. The price action seems to fall below every time, right? So, like I said, when it comes to time frames, start on the weekly chart, draw some levels. Here you can see on the weekly chart, price got rejected here. Both times sellers stepped in, sellers were stronger than the buyers. Buyers became weak here. But then you go down to the daily chart, if you want to swing trade. Daily chart, you can see we bounced around this level a couple times, here again. We've got an inverted hammer candle as well on here. And if you don't know what that is, you probably want to check out the Japanese candlestick Bible as well. That'll probably help you. But yeah, once you go down to the daily time frame, we now go down to the 4-hour time frame. Okay, 4-hour, you see similar thing here, bounce here, bounce here. Little bit of consolidation, clear downtrend here, which is again why we identify trends. And then eventually I'll also have a look at the 1-hour just to get an idea if something really is consolidating or, which way it's likely to move based on, where price action is going. Here it was downtrending, likely to continue down. Didn't actually continue down. Here you saw a much stronger downtrend. So yeah, that 4-hour is really good for swing trading though. If you look at, I'm going to show you a couple of different stocks, right? 4-hour on Roblox, very clear uptrend. You can see the orange price points are where we identified entry points for Roblox. This is on the 4-hour time frame, right? If you go to the 5 or 15, these are not so good for swing trades, right? 30-minute, 10-minute, those are not so good for swing trades, right? It can get a bit hectic sometimes. As you can see here, it can get a bit hectic. That's not what we look at. We like, the 4-hour, the daily, to get a better overall time frame of what price is doing. All right, this is the 4-hour again. This is the daily time frame again. Get a much better idea of what price is doing and what it's likely to continue doing. Okay, so ideally, if we look at, we can just start with Roblox, right, for swing trades. If I'm looking to, get an idea of what price is likely to do or what it's currently doing, I just need to identify the trend first. First and foremost, identify the trend. The trend here is bullish. Why is that? I can give you 3 different reasons. 1, the price action is way above the moving averages, which is the 9-day, the 21, and the 200, right? That's the first reason. Second, why is it bullish? You see a lot more green candles than red candles, right? A lot more green days than red days. So it's another, again, clearly in a strong uptrend. And the third reason is these orange circles here. Every time price came to the moving average, it found support, it found a level, where it held, and it continued uptrending higher. So ideally, when I'm looking for a swing trade, one of the first things I'm looking to do is find a base. Here I have a base. The moving averages, the green and the orange lines, the moving averages, right? Price is building a base on top of the 9 and 21 many, many times, right? And it is pulling back to the level and then trending higher, pulling back to those orange and green lines and trending higher. Every time it pulls back, it trends higher. It's not like, let's say, maybe Apple. Yeah, here's a great example where when we pulled back to the orange and green line, we actually fell below. Then we came above, fell below again, pushed above, fell below again. No, it's not like that. Roblox here is much cleaner, much smoother. This is consistently occurring. That's the key word here, consistently. So many days in a row, many weeks in a row, price is pulling back to the moving averages before heading higher. When a continuation occurs like this and it's consistently, pulling back and trending higher, that's when I'm able to benefit off the continuation, right? These are what I call pullback swings, right? On the 4-hour time frame, you're pulling back to, this is more consolidation, but here you're pulling back to the moving average before trending higher, right? And here's consolidation, here it was pulling back. So let's identify a couple places of consolidation, and I'll use this to just mark a little bit of a box, right? Here's consolidation, right? Price consolidation is where it's like not really moving high or low, just staying in a little bit of a channel or a range, right? Here, a little bit, but not something I'd like to really highlight. Here's more of the consolidation that I want to highlight. And yeah, those are ideal, the sweetest entry points, before it breaks out of those consolidation spots. But like I said, these ones are pullback swings. You got the pullback swings, you got the consolidation. Both of these are great ways to get in on a continuation of stock as it moves higher, right? Great examples of this is the last few weeks, we slapped CRWV, right, CoreWeave. We slapped this stock every time it pulled back to go higher. I think the first time we got in was about $80, so that would have been somewhere down here. Somewhere down here, right? Look at these pullbacks. I can, again, identify these different pullbacks, right? And as I start to identify these levels, you're going to understand what I'm talking about, right? There's target spot, right? Another one right there. And all of these times, as you guys have seen on my social media, or if you're in the Discord, we've entered calls. Every time we've entered calls to take them to the upside, right? Look how it seems so crazy when you look at, the screenshots, the videos on social media. But when you look at the chart, you see it yourself, right? This is the 4-hour chart. Every time it's pulling back, 3, 4 red candles in a row, green candle. 3, 4 red candles in a row, green candle, and it just shoots out. What's happening right now? We're sitting in that zone again, just getting ready to explode out, right? Moving averages cross to the upside way back, which is a golden cross, and every single time they've diverged. They've never ever crossed back. Once they cross back to the downside, it might look a bit more bleak and might be ready for puts. But until then, the moving averages are not crossing over. They're continuing to diverge and push to the upside. That's great. That's what we want to see, right? In the last, 2-3 weeks, it's jumped from 70, $80 all the way to highs of 165. That's why you saw me up 184% on CRWV in a day. That's why you saw me up 860% after 3-4 days, right? That's why you saw us hit it for 700% on a different time, because we've just done the same thing every single time, right? The first time we got in was down near 80, took it up to 116, came down, took it up to 125, came down, took it up to 165, right? And this is just similar to ACHR. We did the same thing, right? So back at the beginning of, sorry, not ACHR, APLD, this is what I meant. There we go. Back in the beginning of this month, so literally last week, right, we had a consolidation. Here's a consolidation. This is in fact, if we go down to the 1-hour time frame, let me remove that. So go down to 1-hour time frame. Look at this. Now is a better way to identify what's going on. I'm going to scoop all of this in a one box like this, right? Consolidation before we pushed higher. Consolidation again. Smaller time frame consolidation signals a bigger move either to the upside or downside. In this case, the moving averages crossed the upside, and we got a lot of buyers stepping in, so obviously it shot out the gates. But the first time anybody in the Discord entered this, it was at $8, right? So just after the first breakout of our zone, me and the rest of the folks got in around almost $11. There we go, shot out again, right? Consolidating, pulling back to go higher. A lot of people overcomplicate trading. Like I said, here is evidence of how you can get into trades. If you guys saw the tweet that I posted, I think it was maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, which would have been, I think Tuesday, when it was consolidating around $10 or $11. I said, it's been up the last few weeks. It's getting ready for the next move. And I said, see you at, I think 17 was my first price target. We're still not there yet, but again, it's on its way. So like I said, when it comes to time frames, check out the weekly chart. Start out with the weekly chart. See what it's doing, right? This is where the magic happens. So ignore the purple zone for now. But what I do want you to identify is this, right? We bottomed out, started to see buyers step in, started to see volume, started to see an uptrend, right? Cool. We didn't get in the trade because it was still below the moving averages, because it could have got rejected and sold off. It started to break above those 3 lines, and we started to get that momentum. Now on the daily chart, here it is, right? We pushed up, broke above the moving averages, came back to test them and shot out. That's exactly what I like when I see my setups, right? Exactly what I like, right? Price built its base on top of the 9 and 21, just like I mentioned earlier, for many days. It built its base on top of the 9 and 21. It built its base many days in a row, and it consistently occurred. When we pull back, that's our time to get in, our time to shine, and it shot out, right? This here is the pullback swing I was mentioning, right? Pushing up, and then it started to pull back, come down a bit, sell off a little bit before heading higher. CRWV did the same, APLD did the same, Roblox did the same thing, And I've tried to highlight this to many of you guys who are, new traders, right? We like to buy close to the moving average before we move higher. We don't like to buy up here, actually. We like to buy when it's closer to moving average before it heads higher. We like to buy here, If I pull up Palantir, We like to buy, here. We like to buy here, close to the moving averages before it makes the move higher. That's how we like to buy. We don't like to buy when it's at the very top. Here's Robinhood. This is not where we would like to buy. We would like to buy when it drops to around $70 here, closer to the moving average. Why? Because it's built a base on the moving averages. It's coming back to test the moving averages before heading higher every single time, right? So last week when I called out the Robinhood swings, that was Friday. So here, right? Do you see why I entered the play? Again, we're going to start with a weekly chart. Weekly chart looks great. Very green, but we're not entering on the weekly chart. We just want to get an idea of the overall trend. Great. Clearly bullish, right? We had some troubles here. Robinhood had some troubles back in March and April. Not anymore. Last couple of weeks has been good. So we said, okay, we've identified the trend. Now we go down to daily time frame to start looking at where we can possibly enter. All right. Now, here you see it. I'm going to highlight the zone again. This is a zone. But the reason I'm highlighting this zone is because price was looking kind of raggedy, but it consolidated and held above the moving averages. So it's nothing to worry about. Back in April, we broke above the moving averages. We got the golden cross, the lower time frame going higher than or moving above the higher time frame, the 9 crossing the 21. That's a bullish indication, bullish signal. So once that happened, price pulled back, consolidated a little bit as it pulled back, shot higher. We didn't get in there. Once it pulled back again, it shot higher. We didn't get in there. Once it consolidated again, pulled back, we said, okay, now's our time to get in, which is why we entered the $67 coastal swing. And we swung them up to about $75, which brought about, like I said, 440%, 460%, somewhere near there. And of course, all we needed to wait for was the pullback to go higher. A lot of people think that because they missed this move, they're out of the trade. They missed this green candle, they're out of the trade. There's many opportunities. It's just pulling back to go higher every time. Here's a prime example again, Roblox. Here you think you missed a trade. Here you think you missed a trade. Here it's giving you entries. Here it's giving you entries before heading higher, right? And this is options we're talking about. So if you're scared you missed a trade or whatever, just wait for a pullback opportunity. Once a pullback opportunity occurs, then you can get in. Otherwise, if you don't get in on that exact trade, there's always another trade, right? But we want to see price building a base above the moving averages. We want to see price pull back to the moving averages before heading higher every time. We like to buy at support, when we're buying calls, buy at support, sell at resistance, right? This is when it's overextended. This could be our resistance. That's where you want to sell. That's what we did on Friday. Obviously, our options expired on Friday as well. But once again, it's just like supply and demand, right? Where's the demand? Where's the supply? If demand is down here, then we'll buy. If supply is up here, then you'll sell. And, this goes across all different tickers, right? You got QQQ here sitting on top of the moving averages nicely, right? It's not really one where you look at it and you say, oh, this is clearly bearish. No, it's had a couple red days, sure, but it's not clearly bearish. It's above all the moving averages, the 9, the 21, and 200. They're diverging right now. They're not converging, going closer. So you look at it and you say, okay, this is more bullish. News aside, tariff news aside, any kind of inflation or interest rate news aside, it's looking completely fine. Now, it might pull back a little bit to the moving averages, as it did, a couple of times in the last few weeks. That's fine. Once that happens and it starts bending back above to go up again, then we're comfortable taking calls. That's great. If it pulls back $6, that's completely fine. We're not in the trade until we see it price closer to moving averages before heading higher, right? I'd say this is another stock that, right now where I look at it and I'm saying, okay, you see it? We bounced the red line here. Go back to the weekly chart, right? We broke above that, came back to it a few times, wicked off it before heading higher. Go to the daily chart. We found support on this level, $58.99. That's where I drew my level of support. We bounced there once, 22nd of May, pushed above the moving averages, came back, gapped down, bounced on it again twice, almost 3 times before heading higher. Now price is above the 9 and 21. They've crossed to the upside already. All I'm waiting for is a little bit of a pullback, maybe $4 or $5, then we'll take it higher. This can get up to the moving average of 76. So if you think you've missed it, no, you haven't missed it. Yes, it jumped 5% on Friday, but look at that resistance. Potential resistance, right? We've got plenty of space to go up to here. And then you can also do this when you're looking at swing trades. Scroll left if you want to find a price target. All right, maybe right before the previous gap or after the gap, that could be your price target. And if you want to know when to set your expiry for trading options, give yourself grace. Like I mentioned on the last video, if you usually buy options expiries, for 3 weeks out, now add an extra couple weeks. Give yourself a couple more weeks. Go 5 weeks out. If you're looking to buy something which expires, June 27th, go for a couple of weeks later, July 11th, right? It's so many different setups that whichever stock you're trading, we traded Google a couple of days ago. No matter what stock you're trading, the setups are there. You just got to take the trade, know how to execute, and of course, take your profits. Have a plan. So this swing trade, Google swing trade, and I'm gonna kind of just wind down now. But yeah, Google swing trade. So Google was pretty strong, came down to the moving averages, bounced on our level of support, trended higher. So what did we do? We got in, and I'll go to the 4 hour for this. We got in as it pulled back to the moving averages, right? We got in as it pulled back to the moving averages. Once it did this, consolidated a little bit. If you look at the lower time frames, right? See, consolidated a little bit, shot out, came down, shot out again. The higher time frames tell you everything you need to know. They always tell you everything you need to know. If you're not sure because you're looking at the 15-minute or the 15 minutes not really doing you justice, or the 5-minute, which is going to just cause a headache and pain, don't look at that. Go to the higher time frames for the confirmation. Go to the start with the hourly, then go to the 4 hour daily. 4 hour daily, 4 hour bounce on level support, never broke below. It was always good, right? Daily, doing its thing. Gapped up, we were able to make 260% on Google just overnight. That was a one night trade, right? So the setups are there, and you should be able to see how I kind of trade, what I look for now. Again, different factors, right? Like when you're trying to mark out a chart, no matter what stock it is, if it's HIMS, which we took this week, again, look at it, how it's sitting on top of the moving averages. It came back, potential double bottom here, bounce once, bounce twice, right? I could even draw a nice line, right here, right there, right? Level of support, found its level of support, found its base on this level here, right? Like I said, ideally, what factors am I looking at when I swing trade? Ideally, I'm looking for price to build a base on top of the 9 and the 21 moving average, which it did here. I'm looking for price to hold above a level of support, which is done many times here, right? I'm looking for a pullback before swinging. Pullback here, great. Once these kind of things occur, this is when I know, hey, it's loading up, it's getting ready to start, to start bringing us something, right? And also, it's the same for puts. If there's any stock which is selling off heavily, I can't actually think of one right now. But yeah, if the same for any stock that's selling off heavily, right? If it keeps getting rejected by the moving average, here we go. There's Tesla, right? Here's a good example. So we failed to break out our zone, came down, moving averages are crossing over to the downside. That's negative, that's bearish. Price is pretty much around the 200 moving average. Again, it's below the 9 and 21. That's more bearish. Got rejected at the level of resistance. It's dropping out the zone. These are bearish indicators. And as you study charts, as you look at charts, as you mark out the charts, I've got all these levels that I've drawn over the years. Any chart I pull up, any stock I pull up, you can see I've got levels marked out constantly marked out. Amazon, AMD, whatever. I've got things constantly marked out. That's how your chart should be. But when you're trading options as well, you need to understand the risk versus reward. If price breaks below, your level of resistance or whatever, then guess what? You need to understand how to cut losses early, how to, you don't have an obligation to hold the stock until expiry. You don't have an obligation to hold, keep holding without knowing what you're doing. So yeah, that's really kind of the swing trading idea. This recent times we've been focused on really helping the small accounts grow into bigger accounts. But at the same time we do that, we're focused on educating you, in the Royal Trading Academy, focus on educating you about the market so you can get to the level where you're comfortable searching for your own trades, looking at different charts, marking out your support, your resistance, that kind of stuff, understanding what to look for before getting in and out of a trade, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to keep doing our live trading daily. We're going to keep doing our focus study sessions. We're going to keep growing our accounts, keep teaching you guys about what to do. And if you're not already in the Discord, you guys know the drill, right? Come join us because that's where we're active every day. It's not just a signals group. It's not just, we're buying this, we're buying that. No, we are teaching, we are showing you what we're doing, we are showing you what we look for each and every day. So it's got, we've got the trading strategies, we've got breakdowns of articles, we've got people analyzing stocks constantly, potential trade ideas, so many different tabs open, for you guys to come and learn. And then the last thing I'll say is, with our active team, who are helping and assisting each and every day, just voice your concerns, queries, whatever questions you may have in regards to the market. Somebody in there is going to answer you. So, that's mainly it. And then the final thing I'll say is, if you haven't checked out the stock option starter pack as well, that's 10 videos, about 3 hours worth, where I really dive into option specifics. So I talk about the Greeks, factors you need to look for, what to look for when you're trading to the upside or downside, how I trade, different trading strategies which are out there, what to do when prices consolidating, all that kind of stuff, and a lot more. So yeah, that's really it for me. If you have any questions, whatever, comments, drop them in the chat. Definitely appreciate if you drop a like as well. These kind of things are not easy. They take time. And of course, I've took time out of my day to do this. So like I said, hopefully you guys do drop a thumbs up, share it with a friend or family member. But 2025 is your year to learn swing trading, to learn a strategy, to start making money in the markets, start, making your life better and working towards something where you can get paid every day or every week instead of waiting, once every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, once a month, whatever it is, to get paid. That's it from me, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I got into making, you got into making. See you guys next time for another video. Peace.